In this review of the week's news, a new aviation training centre opens in Christchurch. We take a look at New Zealand's first completely eco-friendly home and meet a Cantab with a mission. This is CTV News Week in Review. I'm Jared McCulloch. The Canterbury recovery may seem slow, but Air New Zealand is jetting forth with their new multi-million-dollar Aviation Institute, which opened in Christchurch this week. The city's been chosen as one of the best locations for training new recruits, as the aviation world needs more pilots and engineers.
Together we're going to declare Air New Zealand Aviation Institute officially open.
The recovery continues, this time in aviation. This new $8 million purpose-built centre was constructed over 2 years, designed to handle the growing number of students needed in the aviation industry. And a large amount of that money has gone into this very spacious state-of-the-art hangar, where we'll see 70 students come through every year. It's 58 metres long by 42 metres wide, a very good space for students.
We've got the classroom facilities out the back. People will actually do their training with regard to the theory and the knowledge, then they put that into practice.
The classrooms allow for a focused learning environment, using both computers and handwritten exercises throughout their training.
We need qualified and capable people, we put a lot of money into training in Air New Zealand, and we have decided to build this facility down here.
Air New Zealand's investment into the region sees around 1,700 people employed, injecting $155 million into the economy annually, making the business one of the region's largest.
Off the back of the earthquake, we had another facility that was affected by the earthquake. It was also coming to the end of the lease, but we made a decision to make the investment and thrilled to be able to open it here today.
It may be a milestone for the company, but it's a huge milestone for the city.
But it's not just the region benefiting from the new facility. A global demand for highly skilled aviation personnel is growing rapidly, especially on international routes.
Boeing and Airbus have put out data saying we needed a significant number of engineers and pilots going forward. So fundamentally it says, well, we need to make that investment.
The numbers are huge. In its latest report, Boeing says more than 1 million new aviation personnel are needed in the next 20 years. Over half of them are commercial pilots, while the other is made up of technicians and engineers. However, New Zealand plays a part on a much smaller scale.
Air New Zealand will need something like 15 to 20 engineers on an annual basis, particularly down here in Christchurch.
But that could change as time goes on.
What we're also doing here is actually training other companies' engineers as well as engineers for overseas. It's obviously earthquake-proof, but it's also future-proof to be able to grow as well. So in the long run, if we want to actually have a greater throughput of students through this facility, then we've got the ability to obviously add a mezzanine floor as well and put more workshops in.
It's one giant leap forward, with the New Zealand aviation sector continuing to soar into the future. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. They're considered some of the best photographers in New Zealand, and from this week their work is open for the public to see. Gordon Finlater reports.
You may have noticed this addition to the central city. It's the new public outdoor exhibition for the 2015 New Zealand Geographic Photographer of the Year competition. The free exhibition allows passers-by the chance to see work from the top 27 photographers in the country. As well as having the overall winner, winners will be named in a number of different categories.
So the categories are pretty broad. We've got wildlife, which is exactly as what you would imagine it to be. We have landscape, we have society and culture, we have photo story, which is about having 6 images that work together to tell a wider story. And this year we've got a new one called time lapse, which is shots of stars twirling overhead, and we had glowworm caves all shot in time lapse, the moon, super moon rising over Mount Victoria in time lapse. And so that's an entirely new category, but still using a digital SLR, still using a regular stills camera to capture it.
With close to 6,000 entrants for this year, narrowing the country's top geographic photographers down to a finals list of 29 is a tough job for judges.
It's a lot of hard graft for judges, and we go through it all, every single picture, look at all of them, discuss each of them, how the lighting contributes to the drama of the photograph, what the photographer has done themselves to improve the image. and look at the content of the photograph itself. So does it depict New Zealand in a meaningful way? Does it teach New Zealanders something about themselves? Does it tell us something about our society, our culture, our environment and the wildlife around us?
As well as having works from this year's finalists on display, a few favourites from years gone by are also on show, including my personal favourite, Toga Party. Yes, that's somebody's daughter.
The exhibition runs for 3.5 weeks and it runs over 4 weekends as well. And so you come down, you'll see the best of the images from the previous 6 years of the competition, as well as all of the finalists from the 2015 year and the time-lapse category images, all up on LCD displays, 6 of them all playing the videos. And so you'll be able to go through each container, see each of the images, and you'll be able to vote on your favourite one and actually contribute in your own way to the People's Choice Award. And the People's Choice Award is decided obviously by the people that visit the exhibition.
While many entries will be from top press photographers, the competition can also be a launching pad for enthusiastic hobbyists.
We're standing in front of an image by Canterbury Craig McKenzie. He shot this picture for the competition. He's an enthusiastic amateur. He shot it back in 2012. It was highly commended in the wildlife category, and that is a shot of a pied stilt, and he's gone on to do a story for New Zealand Geographic about stilts. A fully paying job as a professional photographer, and doing it in a world-class magazine. So.
The exhibition will be on display for the next 3 weeks on the corner of Manchester Street and Bedford Row. So be sure to get down and cast your vote for this year's People's Choice. Gordon Findlater, CTV News.
If you're living in Akaroa, it's time to have your say on the future of the town's hospital. There are plans to build a new family health centre. Here's Chelsea Daniels.
Progress towards an integrated family health centre in Akaroa has begun, with the Canterbury District Health Board starting a consultation process to gauge what the community thinks.
It's an interesting proposal because whenever we transfer land out of our ownership, we have to consult with our community. But actually we're transferring the land from our ownership to ownership with the community and with Ngāi Tahu. So the District Health Board will still have part ownership of the land, but it's to facilitate the building of a new health facility in Akaroa.
Maintaining a good health standard in Akaroa has been hard since the earthquakes, but Carolyn says that the DHB are dedicated on working towards a brighter future for the town.
Well, it means we can stabilise the health services in Akaroa. It's been rather difficult since the earthquake because we couldn't repair the hospital, and so they've had to sort of really make do. But this will give us an opportunity to build purpose-built 21st century and something that will last the community for a long time.
The idea of making healthcare more accessible in Canterbury is something that they are very passionate about.
It's all about supporting people to live well and healthy in their own homes and their own communities. And because we've been able to do that, we've actually been able to reduce the amount of time people spend in our hospitals and also the amount of people who end up in aged residential care. So people get to age well in their own homes and in their own communities by making sure the right services are as close to home as possible.
The news comes hand in hand with an update that the old Akaroa Hospital is to be demolished soon, an endeavour that has been in the pipelines for quite some time.
Right after the quake, we got engineering reports that said it wasn't safe to occupy. It's taken us a long time to get around to the demolishing, and it's taken a bit longer because, as usual, there's asbestos, so we have to manage it carefully. But yes, it will be demolished quite shortly.
They are encouraging the community and interested parties to have their say, with submissions due by September 11.
In terms of the next steps in the process, the consultation finishes on the 11th of September. We'll have a public meeting on the 6th of September on the way towards that end. We'll review the submissions and put in our proposal to the Minister to get his sign-off for us to transfer the land. So we're expecting to be able to make an announcement probably by the end of September because everyone's trying to push this along and get it to happen really fast for the community. And then we'll be in the hands of the builders in terms of how long it takes to build the facility.
And the DHB are hopeful that the results of the submissions will be positive.
We have to go through the process because the land was originally obtained under the Public Works Act for the purposes of health. We're actually still using it for the purposes of health, so we don't really think that the community will react against that idea, and we've worked with the community the whole way through this. So this is what they want.
If you are interested in voicing your opinion about the sale of the land on the Akaroa Hospital site, you can make your contributions online or pick up a hard copy from the Akaroa Library or Akaroa Health Centre. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Still to come, the latest on the region's tourism sector. Welcome back. Christchurch youths are still experiencing trauma nearly 5 years on from the earthquakes. That's what the Red Cross says. So they brought snow to Cathedral Square to bring joy to those still affected. Here's Chelsea Daniels.
The team at Bounce are dedicated to the welfare of Christchurch youth, with their website promoting mental and physical well-being being launched this week. Since the earthquakes, many Cantabrian teens face new hurdles on a daily basis, and project coordinator Hannah Dunlop says it's important not to forget this.
We realised that actually young people want to talk more about well-being than they do want to talk about stress. There's also some other really great resources around talking about stress and anxiety and depression. And so what can we offer that's a little bit different? We went through a process of rebranding and we came up with the name Bounce Live Life Well.
The site aims to give teens tips and activities about how to live life to the fullest as they go through a difficult time in their life.
Adolescence is a pretty tumultuous time. There's a lot of chemicals rolling around in the brain, and it's pretty much one of the most concentrated periods of development for people. And in terms of where young people are at with their brain development, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I've been to a few courses and I've heard, and it makes a lot of sense about actually it's a really tough time.
So what do teenagers have to be stressed about?
There's a lot of things to be stressed about. There's school, there's pressures of trying to figure out who you are, your identity, knowing yourself, social situations, and then there's some other complicating issues that come through as well through mental health issues as well.
And Hannah says that the earthquakes have made an impressionable impact on our youth as well.
To do with the earthquakes is that family life can be really stressful. Parents dealing with unresolved insurance claims, having to move house several times, depending on the living conditions that you're in, depending on what side of town you live on. So how easy is it for you to get to school? Do you have to catch 2 buses instead of 1? Just things like that. And being in a slightly more stressed school environment as well. I mean, we know with some of the issues that have happened around school closures and mergers and things like that, that can add stress as well.
The Bounce team, who are a derivative of New Zealand Red Cross, organised a special event for tomorrow, something that they expect a lot of Cantabrians will enjoy.
The aim for tomorrow is mainly just to, give people, young kids, something to do in the city, attract them back into the middle of Christchurch, give a real good psychosocial boost to them, and also promote bounce.org.nz.
The snow party being held in Cathedral Square will see 30 tonnes of snow from Mount Hutt and have a range of different activities for young people. And they're expecting a big turnout.
Minimum of 300 people, maximum of probably 3,000. We're not really sure, but up to 3,000 people we're expecting to turn up.
Their website launched this week and promotes content for youth by youth.
If you go into bounce.org.nz, it's primarily around 5 key tips. Is do what you love, treat your body well, connect with others, make a difference, and know yourself. So all the content that's on the website is sort of based around those 5 key tips. It can be anything from, like a music selection. It can be like a blog post. There's recipes on there. There's all sorts of things to, get people engaged.
The snow party tomorrow starts at 1 p.m. with live music from Stevie Tonks, Drax Project, more DJs and special guests. And they're expected to hand out over 1,000 cups of free hot chocolate. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Tourism's on the up here in Christchurch, and it's set to increase in the next few years. Associate Tourism Minister Paula Bennett was on hand this week to give an update, and the Antarctic Centre was the first on her list. Here's Chelsea Daniels.
Associate Tourism Minister Paula Bennett got the chance to check out one of Christchurch's premier tourist attractions while she was in town discussing tourism. She says that tourism in Canterbury is on the up and up.
We're certainly seeing a year-on-year increase, and this year in particular has been really pleasing to see the last 12 months and sort of nearly 7% increase in the number of visitors, most of them coming from China, so about 36% from China. So, there is more to do, and I think part of it is getting the convention centre up and running, making sure we've got that CBD. People like the hub, the buzz of a morning, even if they're on holiday, like to see other people going to work.
Nearly 5 years on from the earthquakes, we're getting more international visitors who are estimated to have spent around $840 million last financial year alone.
We're doing a lot to attract people back to Christchurch, so part of that role is to say that Christchurch is definitely open for visitors, and we're seeing a positive result from that. I really welcome China Airlines flying into Christchurch. I think that makes a huge difference, obviously, just to have access to that market, and you really are the gateway to the South Island, so it's good to see that increasing all of the time and to see more visitors coming back.
She says there's no need to compete with other cities like Queenstown for the unofficial title of the gateway to the South Island.
I don't think it needs to compete. I think it can actually give a different experience, and perhaps especially for those that are going to spend a bit more time in the South Island. So they want to come to Christchurch, get themselves organised, perhaps get that camper van, travel round for a week or two and get a much more diverse experience than perhaps a long weekend in Queenstown.
And the rising numbers of visitors to the Antarctic Centre is proof that we're getting more international visitors in Christchurch.
Particularly this year in 2015, we've noticed a significant increase in visitors coming through. A lot of that's due to the increase in Chinese visitors that we're seeing through New Zealand and particularly into Christchurch. So our Chinese visitor numbers have actually doubled in the last 12 months. On average, visitor numbers here are probably increasing 15 to 20% at the moment, which is pretty good.
The Antarctic Centre is one of Christchurch's most popular tourist attractions, and we got to experience the full package with the Minister. She got up close and personal with some little blue penguins and had a wild experience on the Hagland ride. And the centre is always striving for the latest and greatest for its visitors.
We're always trying to make sure that we've got one of the best attractions here in Christchurch, and being something about Antarctica, it's pretty iconic, so we're always looking to upgrade and add additional exhibits and some wow attractions moving forward, so just watch this space.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Still to come, New Zealand's first totally eco-friendly house is built in Christchurch. Welcome back. It's the first eco-friendly house to be built in New Zealand, and believe it or not, it's only slightly more expensive than a conventional new home. Here's Chelsea Daniels.
Christchurch has the first home to achieve a 10 home-star build rating in New Zealand, with developers now urging more people to build sustainable homes. The home received the rating in May this year, reaching a 10 out of 10 rating for its health, comfort and efficiency.
New Zealand's first 10-star home. So yeah, really excited to be the first, and it's really good to have so much interest and enthusiasm around it and see that it's really starting to sort of click with people, the fact that we need better energy efficient houses.
It takes into account energy, water, waste, ventilation, health and comfort, and other environmental factors at both the design and build stages. The Christchurch home leads another 200 home-star rated projects being built around the country.
Christchurch and South Island could benefit more because we're in a colder climate from having a warm home and more energy efficient home. So we probably have higher power bills than people up north.
Christchurch-based architectural designer Bob Burnett says that everyone who's looking to build a new home should strive for the rating, but is it an affordable option?
Yeah, it is a myth that it's too expensive, and that's probably the main hurdle for people. They think, okay, we'll just do a code minimum house because we can't afford to do a better quality house. And I actually think if you're clever about it and you use the correct design and building methodologies, it doesn't cost any more at all to get to a reasonable standard like a 6.
Living in a house like this one is now within our reach, with the cost of this home sitting at around about $400,000. And it could save you a pretty penny as well, with 0 power bills. But what other hidden aspects should we be thinking about?
The idea of having no power bill is pretty popular, but that, other than the financial aspect, the thing is we have a real health issue in New Zealand with unhealthy homes, and I think that's something that's underestimated. A house has an effect on your health, and if we all lived in healthy homes, there'd be 30% less hospital admissions for people with asthma and respiratory disorders.
Bob says to achieve a 10 home-star rating house, you'd be looking at spending an extra 10% on standard building costs. But to achieve an above-standard 6 or 7-star rating, it's even less.
You don't need to get a 10-star. I reckon 6 or a 7 is probably a good target, and then your power bill might be around about half what it would normally be. And that only costs 2% more to get to that level.
He's a part of the super home movement, which promotes building affordable green homes and debunking the idea that being sustainable is too far out of the average price range.
And as they become more mainstream, then they become cheaper, because when something's new, it's always more expensive, when something's innovative. But once it becomes common, it becomes cheaper.
A second 10 home-star rating house is set to be finished by the end of this month, right next door, with the 2 demonstration homes creating the benchmark for future housing in Canterbury.
I guess the other aspects to this home, other than just energy and design, it's more earthquake resilient. So we're thinking about resilience and durability as part of the super home movement as well as the green initiatives.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
They've been at Arana Wildlife Park for nearly a month, but nothing beats a Christchurch man's contribution to the new Great Ape Centre. He's been working hard to raise as much money as he can for Canterbury's new animal friends, and his fundraising efforts haven't stopped. How old are you, Sean?
31.
31? And how long have you liked gorillas for?
When I was about 15.
Meet Sean. He's gorilla mad and calls himself a zoo researcher, and he's got the business cards to prove it. He's a man on a mission. The country's first ever gorilla enclosure opened to the public last month at Arana Wildlife Park, and he received an invitation to go and meet the 3 new apes. And he also had a gift for the centre.
Our thanks to Sean Collins, a passionate gorilla enthusiast who raised $600 for our Great Ape Centre.
So my aim would be to raise money for them.
Sean has Down syndrome and a heart condition as well, but that hasn't stopped him. He's been to parts of Australia and the United States, travelling to zoos to see a number of the great apes. But when he heard Arana was expecting 3 new residents to their park, he got to work.
I done gorillas in disguise. I sold bacon. I done some christenings.
The whole time I've worked here with Sean for 10 years now, he's been a real enthusiast with gorillas.
He even made his own concept designs for what the enclosure should look like.
That's what all those models were for, and his brain was to actually go the whole distance and create from the ground up, something quite physical. But he, sort of had to teach that, you need like $1 million or something to pull that off.
He decided to fundraise and give to the charitable trust, but he's not stopping yet. Sean is continuing on his fundraising venture.
I won't make any more christenings if I want to make more rugs.
More rugs?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And how long does it take you to make rugs? Because it looks like there's a lot of time that goes into them.
They take ages to do.
Whether it's $30, $50 with his baking, or right, this is the week we're going to do a disco or not, or there's something always in the near future for him to be putting his effort to.
He's also working on making scarves, sticking pictures of gorillas on them as well. Earlier I mentioned Sean is a zoo researcher. Well, he's got folders upon folders of profile sheets about gorillas around the world.
This one here is for Mungo Zoo, and this one here is for Tauranga Zoo.
His next goal is to travel to Germany, but his health could make it tricky.
Big fat risk management plan would need to be written up to help Sean out, and we would just hope that it would happen. And yeah, it's definitely not a no, I would never say that.
But for now, he's not letting anything get in his way. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. And that is CTV News Week in Review. I'm Jared McCulloch. Have a fantastic weekend.
supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.